it's good to know stuff. We will try to understand. Just give me a minute here before we start off. Guys, just give me a minute. Sorry for the delay. All right. Sorry, guys. I just got up with a very bad throat. Okay. So let's try to understand the security part of it today. Let's see to what extent we can go through. Um, yeah. So let's try to understand the IAM. Okay, in AWS there is something called as an IAM. Okay, we did see through what it is. I'll walk you through the lab part of it today. Um, I mean, precisely we have picked up this just to give you the showcase the importance, how important this component is, and how it can be configured. What are the options which we have, and what can come through. So for today's day two, I'm sure everybody knows that this is what we are going to discuss as day two. These are the topics for today in line. We shall see each and everything as it goes. Okay. So first topic for the day, IAM, Identity and Access Management. So what is access management? Basically, we are talking about access management in the perspective of the AWS and not in the perspective of any virtual machine. It is not that we are talking about accessing the virtual machine itself, right? We are talking about things in the perspective of um, AWS access. Okay, who can access AWS account? Uh, Basically, a corporate, I mean, the organization's account. What can they do with the organization account? I hope I'm all audible. Am I audible, everyone?
Can you guys hear me by any chance? Just talking to myself. Hello? Hello? Okay, cool. So, um, so the policy is nothing but basically saying who can access it, what can be accessed, okay? And overall, if you see, the policy contains certain important components like predefined policies, like your administrative access, full access, power user access, read-only access. So these are certain very, very important components which are there, okay? Um, just give me a second. Okay, so there are predefined access, which is administrative access, which is basically a full access, and then we have the full access itself, which is one step below the administrative access. The overall difference is this administrative access is for the complete account, for the complete all the resources which are there for everything relatedly. It is administrative access. Full access is basically an access on a particular resource level. Okay, so just to give you an understanding of AWS, how things goes. Okay, so this is my login to AWS. This is how an AWS portal looks like. This is my root login. So what I have done right now is I have logged in as a root account. So when you log in, you will be asked whether you want to log in as a root account or you want to log in as a user. Okay. Now I have done a root account login. Okay. Now let's go to IAM and let's try to understand a little further what are these. Okay, so this is how the identity and access management looks like. So here, if you see, these are policies which I was talking about. The policies is one of the critical component which you need to understand in AWS. To be, in fact, it should be um, um, it should be a concept in any cloud as such. Okay, just not in AWS. So so here there are predefined policies like administrator. Okay, administrator access. So if I say administrator access, it's basically a full access. It's a complete access to the AWS account, right? So apart from that, I do have accesses like full access. Okay, if you see the full access, there is full access for specific resources like marketplace, health, RDS, EC2. These are each a resource type. Okay, in this there could be multiple resource. Okay, so for example, EC2. EC2 is nothing but a virtual machine. Okay, how does it look like? This is how it looks like. So how do you create an EC2? We shall actually see it in the next session, but today at least we will see the access rights and how it is done. So if you see this EC2, okay, there is also something called as region, which you need to remember. We will stick. You'll see that I'm on this region always. That's only because we have a lot of free access. I mean, all the free services which AWS claims that it is available for a year is definitely available in this region. So there are multiple regions part of AWS where it is basically around 26 regions are there, and in which 3 are from China, which is not visible here. Okay, and each region has multiple data centers, right? So that's how it is. So this is a virtual machine. If you see, this is a virtual machine which is created. 2 are stopped, 1 is running, and for this access, for accessing this page, please understand, a user who can access this page I can control the access here. So I'm saying EC2 full access. EC2 full access in the sense anything under EC2, the user can do it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a user. Okay, let's start creating a group first. That's the best way of doing things. Okay, so a group basically is saying why is creating a group a best option? Because when you create a group and then assign the policy to that group, okay, we'll create a separate user. So I'm going to assign a policy saying that EC2 read. Okay, so there is an option called as EC2 read. Okay, we can also create custom policies. So I'm going to create a group, but it says this group is already existing. I'll say webinar group. Okay, so I'm going to create this. So okay, I can create a webinar group and now I'm going to create a user. Okay, so let's create a user. I have assigned a policy to it, and I'm going to create a user now. So when you create a webinar user one, and then here if you see there are two options to be created. One is using the password way of doing things. The other one is basically the access and secret access. Now this is interesting. Access key and secret access key is basically kind of an a stuff which is used by the backend like an API or a script or a Python code wants to talk to AWS. That is where the access key and secret access key is going to be there. Excuse me a minute. Okay. So I'm going to put a custom password. I'm not going to show it up. It'll be a mess. So, and then I'm going to say, do not reset the password. Okay. So this is my console access, right? I'm going to say next. Here, if you see the permissions, I can control this, saying that the current user which I'm trying to access, I can say I will add it to a group. Okay. Now, if you see this, very interesting factor is I don't know whether everybody realized it. A very interesting factor is I can add the user to multiple groups. Now the question is, what will happen if two conflicting rules are there? Okay, one of the groups says allow EC2 read access. The other group says deny EC2 read access. So whatever, I mean, deny always will take the precedence. Okay, remember that. Deny will always take the precedence. You see how complicated we can go, right? And can I just assign a rule directly to the user, policy directly to the user? Yes, you can do that as well. So Next, review, and let me just create it. Okay, so now the user is created. Now, how do I log into this user? The login to the user is having a different URL itself. It's not the normal AWS console login. So for the console login, we can just say aws.console.com or console.aws.amazon.com, right? But that's not the case for the identity and access management. So basically, there is a URL, if you see on the right hand side. I'm going to just open this up in an incognito window. I'm not opening up in the same window because I've already logged in as root. So it will definitely take it up as root only. Okay, so I'm going to log in as something different. I mean, in an incognito window so that it goes as a fresh login. Okay, and now it comes up with a very different way of logging in. Initially, it was something like this, root user login. That is what I did for the first time. I put my Gmail ID or email ID basically in the password. But the IAM user login is going to be with the account number. So the account number is nothing but whenever you create an account with AWS, there's an account number, which is a 12-digit number, which gets assigned to you, right? So here, I'm going to put that user, which was just created. I know the password. Let me just put it in. So it does remind me saying that it does say that, hey, you have 10 days to change the password. You want to do it right now? Let me not do that. So yes, there is a new console, but I don't want to get into that right now. Let's stick to here. If you see carefully, okay, now the whole thing got changed. The IAM user is webinar-user1. The account ID is this, and the way it is displayed here is username @account number. It's a completely different look of the username itself. Initially, it was just saying Vishwa, but now it is saying something else. So this user is part of this account and may have full access, may not have full access based on what has been assigned to it. Right? So now let's try to understand what I have. There is a service in AWS called as S3. Okay, we are trying to access that. I'm not getting into that service as such. I'm picking up just to show you that I don't have permission for this user to see even the S3 list S3 or anything to do with S3. Okay, what happens with EC2? Okay, so EC2, if you see, I can do anything and everything, right? But can I create anything? Just give me one. So this user will come, will see what I can do. So for example, I'm trying to create a resource. Let's keep it simple. I'm just trying to create an IP address. Okay. Let's see whether I have an option to create an IP address. Don't go with the flow of it. I want you to see only the error message. So if you see, I have chosen EC2 read only. I repeat, EC2 read only. Yeah. And you basically have unauthorized because I have not given write access to this user. It's only read. Okay. So we can play around with this to any crazy level, right? So for example, I can customize this policy. Okay. How is the custom policy created? I'm not getting into that. But there is a custom policy which is already created. Okay. I will go with that. Okay. So there is, I'm going to go assign it to that user, or assign it to the group itself. Okay. So permissions, I'm going to say only okay, no, sorry. Add policy starts with only VPC. Yeah, I'm going to put a tick mark for this. So I'm adding something, and I'm just going to remove the EC2. Okay. Why I'm doing this, I wanted to showcase that the permission additions are on the fly. Okay. So let me just cancel this up. Go to EC2 dashboard. I've not done a refresh as such. I don't have to sign out and sign in for the policy to be effective. If you see, the policy is immediately effective. All the values were visible before. Right now it is all gone, but it is allowed for the VPC. Okay. So if you see here also, the VPC only specific things are allowed. Rest all is not allowed. So you can understand the flexibility which we have with the IAM policy, which means we can control to a greater level. We can customize things to the granular level. We can also control a user saying that, okay, I will allow everything on the VPC side. VPC is nothing but creating a networking part of AWS. But then within VPC, you can only view only such 4 or 5 VPCs. Okay. I have not defined these things. That's why it is not displaying all the values. So that's the error. Okay. It's, even though it's visible, it's just not visible with all the information. Okay. You see, these informations are not allowed because I have not allowed route table, network, a number of things. I've still not allowed to for this user. So it's just not displayed. Okay. So this is a very clear-cut evidence that we can go to any granular level, right? Okay, moving on to the next one. I do have a slide which I wanted to showcase for WAF. I like this slide actually. So, what is WAF? Okay, Web Access Firewall. Okay, and what is Web Access Firewall? So, if you see here, this is a very nice pictorial diagram saying there are certain good users who internally log into the web server and say they just want to do the right thing. They connect to the database and do their work. There are also bad guys who can connect to the web servers and they start doing unwanted stuff. They exploit the code. Uh, they exploit the code. They try to get the bugs in the code, and through the bug in the code, they actually try to um, uh, get the information of what other users or do a it's one is called as the application vulnerability, right? The other one is called as the abuse, where they say this website is bad, or they can get down this website's quality or rating. The other thing is they can do a DDoS. What is DDoS? Denial of service. I repeat, DDoS is denial of service. Okay, so denial of service is more like a continuously giving some work to a person and they are not able to do anything else. Okay, if that work is genuine, yeah, that is not DDoS, but that work is not genuine. That is, the bad guy is actually giving multiple requests to the web server, which is not having any payload or any data to be processed. They're just pushing some request just to keep the web server running. You see this meter, the web server is running. The good guys do not have a space to go grab some resource on the web server and get their request done. So what happens? The server is just busy with unwanted requests, and they don't have time and energy to reply to other requests. And this way, we feel the website is down. The website is not down. Okay, this is a DDoS effect. This is a very common stuff. You can do it by yourself, right? You can there's something called as ping. Ping is also kind of a DDoS. So you can just do a continuous ping with heavy loads to a website which is not secured, actually, which is not taken care. Security is not taken care. It will just go down. If you keep continuously pinging from multiple sources with heavy loads, after some time, if you try to access, the website is down. It's actually not down because it's in the backend, the web services are still running, but the access on the internet is gone because the server load is high, the traffic is high, and the server has no time to reply to anything else. So that's your DDoS, denial of service. Okay. Now, these are the problems. Okay. Now, what does WAF do? WAF is going to sit in front of the web server. I repeat, WAF is going to sit in front of the web server and say, "Boss, hold on, let me just filter who's coming in." So now WAF, which is called as Web Access Firewall, it is going to monitor the pattern of the traffic. And based on the pattern of the traffic, it is going to say, okay, you are allowed because you're a good guy. You're not allowed because you're a bad guy. You're trying to do some unwanted stuff. I am not going to allow it to the web server. So the connection does not even touch the web server itself, right? See, so the WAF rule blocks requests from the bad guy. So now the question is it always that, how's it blocked? Is it based on the IP address or is it based on the behavior? It's based on the behavior. The bad guys are blocked. It's just not based on the IP address of the system, because the bad guy can always change the IP and try it again. Based on the behavior pattern, which is actually configured as a rule on the WAF, the bad guys are actually blocked, right? So this way, what we can think is we can set up a complex. The traditional WAF is you setup is complex and slow, but you have to put too many rules and stuff, but and there is no automation as such. But with AWS, the major advantage is you get it as a service. Okay, it's more like a monitoring service. Sorry, it's more like a security service, a ready-made service, which you don't bother to manage. AWS is going to manage it, right? So you block or allow a web request. Okay, you can easily put rules there. You can define the rules in a very intelligent manner. You can monitor the security event. So any you can say that, hey, somebody is trying to access with this pattern of stuff, mark them as a security event. I will go monitor it. I will see whether it is coming from a specific country, specific state in the country, or a specific space or specific service provider. We will take an action on that, because that's a serious stuff. Okay, so it depends on the end client, how serious is their website. Say for example, I have a blog, and it's just vishwablog.com, and I'm trying to just keep it on, share some content, and somebody's trying to attack. I would not be much bothered, because it's not hampering my business, or it's not hampering me too much. Maybe the blog is down for a couple of days. I'll go change the IP address, probably I'll change the server and keep going on. So it's not bothering me much. But if it is a bank, right, and they are continuously, it has to be secured. Somebody is trying to continuously do a DDoS. They will take a very serious action on the source. They will go to an extent, sending in the cybercrime guys to figure out where the source is, why that person is doing it. They can go to a certain step of taking them into custody. So it really depends for whom this is implemented, and based on the security events, they can definitely take a serious action. So you can configure it with the console. You can configure it through the API. It basically is going to protect the website and content. It can also, so WAF can be put in front of multiple AWS services. One of the AWS service is front of you, which is called as the cloud front. So a cloud front is a web distribution service, and it can sit in front of that to block all the unwanted traffic. It can also sit in front of the load balancer, so the load balancer gets a good good traffic, not the bad traffic, right? So benefits of WAF, Web Access Firewall. We have practical security made easy, of course. We have customizable and feasible, and integrate with the development. Pretty straightforward. Setting up is pretty straightforward again. Create the web ACL, add a rule, add the condition, assign it to the CloudFront. In this case, it is a CloudFront. Basically, it could be CloudFront, it could be a load balancer, it could be either of the one, right? So request goes like this. Block request originated from blacklist, right? So you can say and conditions, you can put login request, or and/or conditions, count request, and by default it is allow. So you can make the rules more complicated, and it's pretty straightforward, which is visible on the portal also. I don't want to get into the pricing part, but overall, this $0.6 is the pricing for a million requests. Let's not get into that. So that was a good slide actually, which I wanted to take it up. So how does it look like on AWS? Let me just quickly go through it. So there is something called as WAF and Shield. A second. Okay, so you can create a ACL. You can say whatever configuration you want, and you can associate the resources which you want to protect, right? And you can add a rule and then rule priority. So that's your web access firewall, ACL, and there's something called a shield. Shield is little more deep dive concept, and it is an advanced concept where uh, you can protect on specifically. It's a managed DDoS protection service specifically for DDoS. AWS has created this AWS Shield, which will help you manage the DDoS attacks on your websites. So there is standard and advanced. The pricing is crazy. You have to subscribe, and you can see the large. These are like last 2 weeks summary where all the attacks has happened. What is the largest bit rate? What is the vectors, threat level, number of attacks? So these guys are trying to do analysis throughout, and these are the difference between the standard and advanced. So and also there is something called as AWS Managed Firewall, which is again another set of service where you get to see or you can manage your firewall for your specifically for the network traffic, and you can control the flow of the network traffic with the help of firewall. So there is something called as concepts called as natting and patting, which you can control on the firewall. You can control the websites, what you can access. So this firewall is for something to control for the traffic which is going out of AWS from your resources, which is in AWS, like a virtual machine or EC2 or anything. Shield, WAF, and Shield is to protect from the traffic which is coming from outside towards AWS to your resources. So there's a difference between these three. Okay, so I guess this gives you a good perspective of what is WAF and what is Shield. It's another concept. Okay. Apart from this, there is something called as guard duty. Okay, so guard duty is a very interesting concept. So I repeat, the WAF is to protect specifically the web services. The shield is to protect the web services. But again, to be more specific, it takes care of the advanced level DDoS effect. And it is making sure that the DDoS is taken care. And your firewall is basically to manage your network firewall, but it is for the traffic which is going out of your EC2 instances, and you can configure your own rules in that. It is a completely managed firewall. Now, coming to the guard duty, if you carefully see, let me just give you a AWS guard duty. So if you see, I just want to show you a diagram which shows the presence of guard duty. So here, if you see, the guard duty is present where it is going to push all the all the events to a cloud watch. A cloud watch is a place where basically all the events are collected, and we can monitor it, or we can deep dive into it and understand what has happened. But guard duty is just not monitoring your okay. It's guard duty is just not monitoring your outbound or inbound. It's overall, it is continuously monitoring your AWS account itself. Okay, so it also tries to understand, is there any, it keeps monitoring all the AWS accounts without additional software or deployment. It could be your accounts and users, instance workloads, container workloads, S3 buckets, and intelligently detects the threats, and you can take an action of it. You can either intimate it through some notification, or you can integrate it to another service and take an action on it. Say, for example, there is a continuous workload all of a sudden, which was not there for the last 2 weeks. You see it on the next 2 days. You can take an action saying that, hey, shut down all those machines, and it will notify you, and you can come back and manually check what really happened. Why is this up? Because this could be possible. There is somebody trying to access the data, somebody trying to pull the data where the utilization is very high. So rather troubleshooting that, you immediately can take an action to shut it down. The guard duty can help you do that. So these are different types of things. It is actually not the same stuff. It is completely different. And I hope you guys are getting the point which I'm trying to say. Moving on. So just to summarize, we have seen IAM. IAM is basically to give control or give specific access on the AWS resources. WAF is basically a web application firewall, or web access firewall, or application firewall, which is basically built for the applications or web applications. It is going to filter traffic for the web applications. AWS Shield is specifically built for DDoS and advanced DDoS control, and Guard Duty is specifically built to handle the threats in the AWS account itself, right? So you can understand AWS is actually taken care all the components on the security management, and they are saying, we are there for you. Don't worry about it. We will help you handle things much better. Okay, so moving on further, there's something called as Trust Advisor. Okay, so search for Trust Advisor. So where does this Trust Advisor come into picture? So okay, overall, if you see, Trust Advisor is basically a separate feature. Okay, by default, the Trust Advisor is not enabled on the AWS. You need to enable that on the AWS, right? And the Trust Advisor is going to advise you majorly on these 4 components, right? Cost optimization, security, your fault tolerant systems, and your performance. So if you enable this, you could get a continuous report the way you want it. This is another way of looking at it. This is the older picture. This is the current picture of the Trust Advisors, which is in the beta section. So it will help you with cost optimization. And the way I have seen in my past experience, this has been very helpful. Okay, this has been effective, and we have been able to take certain decisions based on this and help the customer reduce their cost, fix their security issues. So there are certain security issues which not all security issues can be fixed. And the customer will say, hey, I will live with certain security issues because it's too costly for me to fix, right? And it really depends on the business. Okay. Now, one thing everybody should keep in mind is when it comes to security, the security also comes with a cost. Many companies, startup companies, they really don't bother about the security for quite a bit time until their product is ready. Once their product is ready, they start digging into the security features, which is actually not the right way, but they also don't have a choice because they really focused on getting the product running. Okay, I have seen products where the company creates products and then they start trying fixing the security. At the end of the day, they are not able to fix all the security because of the architecture of the product itself, and the product fails. I've seen this also. Okay, so should the developers or developing companies should always consider all the security issues? Not exactly. At least they should consider the um, um, basic security things, so that, and they have to make sure that is there in their architecture. If that is not taken care in the initial stages, they are going to be in big trouble in the futuristic. Security is always a biggest concern when you deliver it to the customer. Okay, so without the security, there's nothing. Today, most of the cars, if you see, are coming up with at least 2 airbags. Why? Security is a major concern now. Okay, if you talk about 20 years back, airbags were there only on few cars. You can just count them up. But today, that is not the case, right? So yeah, trusted advisor is basically saying this is how the trusted advisor could be saying. It can also give you suggestions on fault tolerance. What is fault tolerance? Basically saying that, hey, you have certain systems which is on a very high risk. It doesn't have a copy of it anywhere. You're just running it with one copy of it, and you could be on a risk at any given point of time. So to avoid those things, right? Just to avoid all those things, it would say, hey, create another fault tolerance resource somewhere in a different data center altogether, and that will solve your problem. So yeah, if you see here, it says upgrade your support plan. So this is important. It's a paid service. Right now, I'm on a free plan. You need to upgrade it to a support plan to get this trusted advisor working. So as you see here, the dashboard, overall dashboard has cost optimizations. There are checks which happens, low utilizations, idle load balancers. You see, there are so many components on basis of cost savings, right? It checks so many things, right? This, and on the performance wise, it is checking high utilized EC2, checking on the store volumes, checking on the security group, how many security groups are well used, how many security groups have uh, um, actual hits. Okay, so trusted advisor is really an advisor on all the resources which you have created in AWS, and it gives you a great amount of information. And if your organization is really serious enough to take things to a different level, then trusted advisor is one of the important step which the organization has to get it enabled. Yeah, it is charged, it is cost, nothing comes free. Think of it, getting this kind of a tool on a common data center today is very tough. Okay, but on the cloud, it is just a click of it. You just enable it, it's going to be there, no problem at all, right? So, and if you see here security wise, there are certain things like this check is intended to discourage the use of root access. It is going to check, are you using the root access every time? Are you have enabled by default administrative access to all? Fault tolerant, check the age of the snapshots. Are you keeping it for a very long time? The copy of a snapshot or availability zones. Give me a minute. Okay, so yeah, and service limits. It is also going to check the service limits. So by default, there are a lot of service limits. You can set up the service limits like the service quota. It can help you monitor that as well. Okay, it can tell you if, say for example, if it is 80%, just alert me. So trusted advisor is one of the super important component. If your organization is big, they have more than 300, 500 servers. It's a great stuff that this guy can give a lot of values for us, because it can monitor a lot of things, granular level things, and it can advise us saying, hey, do this, do that. Third eye for us, extra hand for us, and definitely a great option. Okay. I do have one more topic. Okay. So there is something called as uh, uh, governance. Okay. So governance strategy, basically, that's a very important component, which again, it depends on the size. All the components which we are talking today, I'm not saying it is suitable for everybody. Okay, so governance. So governance is something which is another a very important component. So basically, what governance says is it's basically the right balance between agility, and safety. What is agility? Agility is basically saying that how quickly a cloud can or the customer will be able to upgrade themselves, adapt to the market changes, or the flexibility to the customer demands. How best the cloud can respond to the changes, and how best the customers can upgrade their systems based on the market changes. And that is agility. But there also comes the safety. You cannot just say that, hey, somebody is doing A, B, C, D. Say for example, I'll give you a little live example of this governance. Okay, so there's a website A which is actually doing great, and all of a sudden they introduced something where their traffic actually increased. They introduced a number of things, but they have been planning for a very long time. and they implemented it with a very strategic way, and they have done that in a controlled manner. So their traffic on the website is increased, but there is no security breaches on the website. Now, looking at that website, the competitor immediately takes an action saying that, hey, we also have to get to that level at any cost. Now, if the competitor is not doing the right way, if they are rushing through to compete in the market and not taking care of the safety features, they are going to be in trouble. So governance in AWS cloud is more of taking the right step, taking the right advice, doing the right thing, and you can always, if such kind of big decisions are taken, and if you're confused, you can always go to AWS. They will hook you to a partner, AWS partners who has best practices. They will charge you for some advice. They'll charge you for the best practices, but it's still worth it because it's a big decision making thing, and it'll all make sense for that. So definitely governance is another important component, which has a security point, which you need to consider, whether you really want to change to the speed at which the market is changing, or you really want to slow down a bit and make sure the safety features are also there while you're changing things. So these are the topics which I really wanted to cover up for the day on the security side. I'm open for questions. So, yep, shoot out the questions. I'll try to open the link. Try to open the link. Give me a second. Thanks, Ram. Okay, I just have like 3 questions. I'm not too sure if everybody has understood this pretty neatly. I mean, understanding the security is not just going to be straightforward. Take this as take this session as a beginning for the security thought process. This is to give you a kickstart and push you into the thought process of security. You don't have to feel discouraged saying that I've not understood a lot of things there. It's okay. I mean, you can take it up slowly, and at least if you have got those topics on top of your head, even that's a great start, I would say. So take things slowly. Don't demotivate yourself. At least on the security side, I've seen many people trying security just for a few times and then just giving up. That's not the way to do it. Security is something which can just eat up your the rest of the 30 years in IT industry. So okay, a lab would not be possible because to showcase a lab output, I need to set up a lot of things, which is definitely not possible. Sorry for that, Red. Okay, there were some questions which just disappeared. Did I do something? No. There were some questions, I think. Okay. Okay. So do WAF will identify bad guys through based on user IPs only? Mostly, yes. That is how you will identify anybody, right? So who are changing their IP? They are called no, no, not exactly. So that is not what I meant. So I'm just talking about this interesting question. So say for example, I'm a good guy. Okay, assume that I'm a good guy. Of course, I'm a good guy. So I'm accessing some website, and all of a sudden, I have two internet connections. Let's assume that I'm working. One of the internet connection is gone. I have, say, something as an IP address. Now that's gone. I am switching to another internet. Now I get, I have a new public IP, which means the end client where I'm trying to access, that guy sees me on a new IP. Doesn't mean that I'm a bad guy, right? I'm still a good guy, and I'm decently accessing the website. So the based on just not changing the IP address, it is gonna identify me based on an IP and the behavior of my access. That is, am I accessing the website decently, or am I creating an unnecessary traffic towards the website? If I create unnecessary traffic, download unnecessarily multiple times the same file again and again and again just to make the server busy, yes, it would block me, right? Based on my behavior, it is going to block me. But yes, it is going to block on the IP addresses only, right? What is transit gateway, VPN concepts, NACL, DNS firewall? So transit gateway is not a firewall. It's basically a concept where you say you connect multiple VPCs. Okay, and VPN concept is basically to VPN is basically a virtual private network where you connect on a private network. You want to connect on private over the public network. Okay. NACL is network access control, which is the one of the firewalls or secure network security basically. And DNS is basically domain name service, which is not a firewall again, which is just a name to IP to name service. Okay, let me just finish the Excel sheets and then I'll come to the chat. Okay. Meanwhile, you guys can still put it on the chat or Excel sheet. I'm okay. So why are we not using security policies for authorization using trusted advisor? That's not the right question if I can think of. Why are we not using security policies for authorizing using trusted advisor? Okay, you're saying who all can see it? Yes, we can definitely control that through IAM. But if that is what you're asking for, if I have understood, you're saying, can I control the access on the trusted using the trusted advisor? Using trusted advisor, I cannot do any security policy, but on the trusted advisor, I can put some control. Okay, because trusted advisor is just an information about the behavior of my account, what is happening in my account. Can we apply different policies on the basis of trusted advisor? Policies to monitor, yes, you can. Company coming to the chat box, I think there's some. Okay, starting from Vinod. Can webinar user once see EC2 instances created by other users in the same account? Yes, definitely, Vinod. That's a good question. But yes, a user creates another user if they are authorized, they can definitely see. List of EC2 instances displayed depends on the user sign-in or region, both. Because we have an option saying we can control it on the region level, we can control in the IAM based on instance name, instance tag. There's a cool amount of features which are there, right? Cannot access, blah, blah, blah. My question is, if I want to, I'm coming to Ramnesh, is it Ramnesh? Yeah. So I want to become an expert in AWS and DevOps, equivalent to someone having an experience of 2 to 3 years in cloud computing. Then how many from where I should, how and from where I can start my learnings? Please suggest something as to get good hands-on experience. It's always better to go through a course. If you really want to become very good at DevOps and with that experience, I suggest one more component which you're missing out is Linux. You should start from Linux. Get hold of RHCSA. Do practice. Practice. I have I mean, at least 2-3 years back, I should definitely say this. There's been a student where he was coming only for the weekend classes. The course duration was for 3 months, but then he used to come on a daily basis to the institute. Okay, so every day he'll come and sit. I'm not there. I come only in the weekend, but Monday to Friday he still comes there, sits for 6 hours, 7 hours, practices it. Any doubts, he'll just message me whenever I have time. I'm going to reply. You see the dedicatedness of that student, and that student doesn't have any kind of background on AWS and DevOps. He did this for 3 months. He went through the course. The next 3 months, he did a rigorous practice. He did again come to the institute and sit. There's no problem in that. So that way, what is happening? The discipline in him. You can go sit anywhere. Today, I don't know whether it's a choice to sit in an institute, but find out a place where you can sit peacefully, spend that quality time. And he joined as if he's having an experience of 2-3 years with 6 months of hard work and putting all the stuff together, working very hard, 7 days. He was able to join a company with showcasing as 2 years. He cracked the interview and he got it. Hats off to him. I mean, he's one of the example I can take. So definitely that is possible. It's not that it's not possible at all. Okay, Dipendra, I think I answered your question. Okay, it was you who asked me that question. Can we apply different policies on the basis of trusted advisor? Can we apply, when you say policies, on what? I am still not able to understand, but my understanding is you're talking about adding a, putting a policy on the trusted advisor so that you can view changes the way you want it. So, what is DevSecOps? Interesting question. DevSecOps is basically including the security component in the DevOps. So now whatever we spoke is a cloud-based security, application-side security. For DevOps, we saw something called as continuous integration, continuous testing, then continuous development, testing, integration, deployment, monitoring. At every level, I can put security, right? So, for example, during the development time, I can put code scanning, okay, which is going to be like a sonar cube, okay, and and in the testing, I can put some test cases where we will check for the security breaches, if any, during the testing, right? And during the integration tool, we will make sure the passwords are not stored anywhere. It has to be more secure, right? And then during the deployment, we should make sure that we are not having any breaches. The patches on the end deployment servers are all taken care. Give me a second. So so that's how the DevSecOps works. So what is the difference between DevOps and SecOps? That is what it is. DevOps, not much worried about the security during the continuous deployment. We really want to get things done, but SecOps is taking care of the security also while doing the deployment. Okay, so how can we become a cloud architect and what all knowledge model knowledge or prerequisite we need to read. Cloud architect, yes, you should go through the basic cloud program, solution architect. Basically, it's a good stuff to go through the solution architect. It gives you a complete flow of major services. It gives you how the AWS is design things. It gives you a nice hold on that. You're working for 11 years in ETL space. I don't think you can showcase 11 years of cloud experience. Even if you get to that level, you may end up showcasing a year or two max, and I don't think you can go beyond it. Okay, so I have not worked on Athena concepts. I know it is something to do with some development work. I've not worked much on that. Will the security service picked upon cost optimization? Yes. So it is also going to show you the features. When you enable the security, it is definitely going to show the cost optimization, cost feature of it. And so which AWS service can block or solution for DDoS attack on our application? So that's your AWS Shield or AWS WAF. These are the two things. WAF will give you a little high-level solution when compared to the guard itself. I have an error using ELB with HTTPS along with the ACM, but it works in HTTP. I tried a lot of time. Add listeners. Could you please help? Sorry, I will not be able to talk about any scenarios here. It will take a longer discussion. So sorry about that. Online or offline classes, you should contact. You should actually drop a mail to the organizer. They will help you. DevOps on AWS platform and AWS DevOps are same. No, DevOps on AWS platform is more of I would suggest I would say running Git, Jenkins, Docker, Ansible, running as an EC2 instance on AWS, right? And AWS DevOps itself is basically a completely different concept, like code pipeline, code deploy, code build. These are DevOps tools, which is equivalent to like the Jenkins, Docker, Ansible, and stuff. Okay, these are completely different concepts. ELB, it will work. You wouldn't have configured properly. Yeah. So I'm into automation testing. I'm thinking to change to AWS and DevOps. Please suggest me that. How can I learn? So again, start with AWS. If you are decent with Linux, it would be great. Linux is kind of somewhere I see Linux is going to be like an important and mandatory stuff, right? So okay. Yeah, for the offline class, you should talk to the coordinator. They'll help you better. certification is definitely a great advantage. There's no doubt in it, because the way I see it is, uh, there's a lot of advantage, or there's a lot of good amount of filtering which is happening based on secure certification. So definitely, I would say secure certification is great, and it's totally advantage. IAM admin and AWS user or organization, whoever is signing on for AWS service, are from the same organization. Yes, that is correct. And the migration of customer data of the particular organization which is signing up from their data center to how it will happen, and how organization access the resources requirement for customer data. So data migrations, if you see, there's a day which we are going to spend. Along with that, I'll add a couple of more topics there. Data migration is where we are going to talk about that piece, which is day 4. And it can be to a specific account. It could be to a different account. So accessing that particular data is definitely not an issue at all, right? So definitely that's going to be taken care by AWS. It is not going to be an issue at all. So a specific administrator or AWS user would be able to handle it much better. Any other questions? Who? Okay. Okay. Yes, we are done with the session for the today. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, you're partially right, Dipendra. Srinivas, yes, DevOps on AWS is we will install the DevOps tools on AWS on EC2 instance. And coming to AWS DevOps, there are separate tools like the Git, we have code commit, like the Jenkins, we have code pipeline, like the Docker, we have ECS. For Ansible, we have code deploy. So yeah. All right. Thanks.